Hi, this is Debbie House, Editor-in-Chief of Retail TouchPoints. I'm here at the 100th Annual NRF Convention along with David Dorf, who's the Director of Technology Strategy for Oracle Retail. We're just going to talk a little bit about trends and what's going on at the show. So I'm just going to get right into my questions for you. I know it's actually the very beginning of the first day of the show, but just in general, what are your impressions? What do you anticipate as far as the climate of the show for this year?
The first thing that strikes me is it's really busy. There's an awful lot of people here. I think attendance is way up from the last 2 years. I've also seen a lot of things. A few booths I've checked out have been around mobile. I see a lot of interest in alternate payments, remote payments, proximity payments. I saw Facebook is going to be here talking about payments and opening up stores.
Facebook actually has a booth here for the first time.
I think that's incredible. Is PayPal here? I think they might be here as well. So I think payments are going to be a big thing. The other thing I think is pretty interesting. I've seen some hints of social other than Facebook. So I think that people are going to start talking more about social commerce as well. So social, mobile, and then the big crowds.
Right, yeah. They're expecting, I think, over 20,000 people this year. So it should be
fantastic.
Very tight.
Yeah.
All right, so Oracle Retail specifically, what do you think at the show and in the coming year are going to be some of the solutions and services that you're going to get the most interest from retailers here, and then just in the coming year or so?
I think the biggest thing we get asked about is our top-to-bottom solutions. So I think what's unique about Oracle is the fact that we have hardware, middleware, database, and then the retail-specific applications on top of that, all integrated together, turnkey systems for use in international markets. It's no one particular solution that I see a lot of interest in, it's the entire stack. So I think retailers want to know that they can take an entire stack, deploy it in, say, the US to start, and then start to move it to different countries as they expand their business.
And now, a lot of what we're talking about these days is the fact that U.S. retailers, on some level, have run out of space for expansion, and
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of talk about global, but also with the economy starting its recovery, they're probably going to also be focusing on U.S. expansion as they can. So, what
That's
you're talking about is the ability to grow,
expand overseas, and it's not only about the IT side of that, getting the languages right, being able to take the different payments, but it's also the need to do localization for those different economies, to be able to have the right products. You go into China and they're really expecting different products than you would be selling in, say, the UK, and it can vary in provenances, so you need to be able to have the right localization of that stuff, and our software is able to do that.
Tax laws and all of the intricacies of doing business in different countries.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great, okay. So as far as technology implementations from the retailer side, I know we can talk for a minute about what's been going on the past few years and where we are today, and where do you see the area of retail where retailers are going to be focusing their budgets as far as implementations go, do you think, in the coming year?
I think there's going to be a lot of focus in two areas. One is point of sale, and I think a lot of that is driven by the international expansion. So there's a lot of antiquated point of sale systems out there that can't handle localizations and different taxes and fiscal printers and languages. So there's a lot of upgrades around that going on. That also ties into mobile. So people want to have a mobile point of sale. They want to be able to enable a different customer experience on, say, iPhones and Androids. They need that to hook into their point of sale system as well. So that's pushing a lot of point of sale upgrades. The other thing I think is around business intelligence and Exidata or appliances. So being able to have really extremely powerful hardware that can process all this data that's being collected. Retailers have been great about collecting customer data over the years, but it's really taking that data and making it into information where you can take action and make decisions. We have a product called Exidata that really focuses on that. It allows you to take billions and billions of rows of data and really analyze that data using data mining and other pieces of the database very, very fast. It's hardware that's actually built for the software, and they're optimized to work together. So it's an interesting perspective on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's been a topic that's been talked about now quite a bit for the last several years, taking that data and turning it into actionable information, and using, you need the right analytics tools to be able to do that.
Absolutely. I think the difference now is this Exidata appliance. So being able to take the hardware and software together has really given us a performance boost.
So the hardware has been an issue in the past with being able to handle the information.
being able to have the hardware go fast enough, you'd have to have these huge farms of CPUs, and you can only read the disk so fast. What Exidata has is it has flash memory built onto it, so it basically can take an entire database off the disk and put it in memory and access it extremely quickly.
And then it can be customized as far as what kind of information the retailers are looking for.
Yep.
And as far as the POS is concerned, just talk about that for one more second. So there's still a lot of legacy POS systems out there that need to be replaced. So is that going to be the priority, or doing that first and then getting into the mobile, or do you think it's more of a combination effort that's going to happen?
I think retailers are trying to add mobile to their legacy systems and figuring out it's pretty hard. And so then they're starting to say, okay, let's rethink this a little more strategically, let's stop thinking so tactically, let's get the big picture. What I really hope retail doesn't do is what they did in the 90s with e-commerce, where e-commerce was off in its own silo, and then they figured out that they had to bring them back together. I hope we don't repeat that same thing with mobile, and we think strategically, and we look at the entire picture end to end, and build it all correctly.
I think that people are starting to get the picture, especially after their experience with e-commerce, and that we need, and because of the consumer expectations, we need a consistent brand experience across all channels. So hopefully they're getting that picture.
I hope so.
And I'm sure you emphasize it in all your meetings with your customers.
Absolutely. It's all about omnichannel.
So I think we may have talked about this a little bit already, but just some of the key trends that you see in retail in the coming year and beyond.
As I mentioned before, I think payment's going to be really big. So we believe that NFC is going to take off in 2011. A couple of reasons for that. One is Nokia has announced that they will have NFC-enabled smartphones in 2011. Android's pushed really hard into NFC. I believe Apple is going to have NFC in their next iPhone. And I believe Apple's going to come up with their own payment system, which will be very interesting. It will help push NFC. So NFC is tricky because you have to have the readers at the point of sale, and then you also need to have NFC-enabled smartphones. So I think it's going to start 2011. It's going to take a while to get that infrastructure going. In the meantime, there's an awful lot of other alternate payment vehicles using things like QR codes to be able to scan registers and transfer money that way. PayPal's got their PayPal Bump, which I think is interesting. In fact, if you look at the NRF mobile blueprint, there's an entire section dedicated to both mobile and proximity payments. There's all sorts of new things coming out.
Now, as far as the NFC is concerned, so all of those people that ran out to buy the iPhone this year are going to have to trash them and buy new ones? Is that what's going to happen?
Well, I don't have any inside information on the iPhone, but I do know that Apple's been hiring NFC engineers, and there's rumors around, so it could be coming pretty soon.
Okay, awesome. So the last thing I want to talk to you about is just sort of the economic recovery, how Oracle Retail has come through it, what your strategies have been, and how's that worked for you?
One of our big strategies has been to reduce risk for retailers and provide them proven solutions. That's one of the big differentiators we have. We've been in all these different countries. We've done Tier 1 and Tier 2 quite a bit. We've done stores as well as planning, merchandising, supply chain. So all of that experience we really like to leverage for the benefit of our retailers. And by lowering risk, it lowers costs. And that's really been helping retailers. They only have so much money to spend. They're going to make sure that they get a successful project going. So we've worked on building tools to help with our implementations, make them faster. We've been investing quite a bit in our partnerships with implementation partners to get them up to speed. I think that's really where we're helping most.
Do you get a lot of questions about how about that quick ROI on my implementation?
Absolutely. Retailers love to do a piece of the project, get that ROI, and use that to fund the next piece of the project. And one of the things we try to do is not prescribe a particular order in which the applications have to be installed. So the retailer can choose where's your pain point, where you're going to get the most ROI, start there, and then build out from there. That flexibility is really well liked in the market.
Great. All right. Well, thanks so much for your time today. And we're energized because it's the beginning of the show. So when I see you late tomorrow afternoon, you might
I'll be on the floor for sure.
On the floor. That's where I'm going to be. So good luck. And again, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Have a great show.